I used to believe that betrayal was something that happened to other people, that the kind of deep, gut-wrenching treachery you read about in novels or watch in movies was fiction, exaggerated for drama. But life has a cruel way of turning you into the protagonist of your worst nightmare. My name is James, and up until a few weeks ago, I had what I thought was a perfect life. A wife who adored me, a younger brother I had always protected, and a home filled with warmth and laughter. Looking back, I wonder if I was blind or simply unwilling to see the cracks forming beneath the surface. Sophia and I had been married for 5 years. She was the kind of woman who made a room feel smaller when she entered, not because she was imposing, but because she drew attention effortlessly. She had an easy smile, a way of making people feel like they belonged. That was what drew me to her in the first place. She made me feel like I belonged. Then there was Michael, my younger brother by 3 years. If Sophia was the warmth, Michael was the storm. Unpredictable, reckless, but always charismatic. He had struggled for years to find his footing, bouncing between jobs, relationships, and self-destructive choices. I had been his anchor, the one who bailed him out when things got too tough. It was an unspoken pact. I would take care of him, and he would always be loyal to me. Loyalty. A word I clung to, naively, like a lifeline. It started with small things, things that seemed harmless at the time. Sophia and Michael would share inside jokes that I didn't understand, the kind of humor that forms between people who spend too much time together. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself it was good that they got along. Then, there were the glances, fleeting, barely noticeable, but present. A split second too long. A look that carried something unspoken. I dismissed it. I dismissed everything, because the alternative was too unthinkable. One night, I woke up to an empty bed. The sheets beside me were cool, undisturbed for hours. My first thought was that Sophia had gone to get a glass of water, maybe stepped outside for air. But when I checked the kitchen, she wasn't there. The house was silent. Then I heard it. A faint vibration, a phone ringing, muffled by walls. I followed the sound, my heartbeat a steady drum in my ears. It led me to Michael's room. The door was slightly ajar, a sliver of light spilling onto the hallway floor. I hesitated. Even in that moment, I hesitated. I pushed the door open. The room was empty. Michael's phone lay on his nightstand, the screen glowing with an incoming call. The name on the display made my stomach drop. Sophia. I stood there, the implications sinking in like stones into deep water. I didn't know what to think. I didn't want to think. Footsteps behind me. I turned just as Sophia appeared in the hallway, her expression unreadable in the dim light. Her hair was slightly disheveled, as if she had just run her hands through it. "What are you doing?" I asked, my voice steady, though I felt anything but. She blinked, then glanced at Michael's phone. She hesitated. That hesitation was all the answer I needed. A storm was coming. I could feel it in the quiet tension of the air, in the way Sophia refused to meet my eyes. But I wasn't ready for it. Not yet. So, I stepped back. I let the silence settle between us like a curtain drawn over an unfinished act. I wanted to believe there was a logical explanation. I wanted to believe that the foundation of my life wasn't about to crack and crumble beneath me. I wanted to believe in my wife, in my brother. But something inside me whispered that the truth was far worse than I could imagine. And soon, I would have no choice but to face it. Morning came heavy with an eerie silence. The air between Sophia and me remained thick with unspoken words, our routine reduced to the barest exchanges. Michael avoided me altogether, slipping out of the house before I had even woken up. It was as if the night before had left an invisible fracture in our reality, one I could not yet fully grasp. I poured myself a cup of coffee, the bitter aroma failing to chase away the unease coiling in my chest. Sophia sat at the table, scrolling through her phone, her fingers tense against the screen. I studied her, searching for the woman I had once known. Had I been living with a stranger all along? "I didn't hear you come back to bed," I finally said, my voice deliberately casual. She didn't look up. "I couldn't sleep. I went for a walk." I exhaled slowly. And Michael? Her fingers hesitated over the screen. What about him? You called him last night. Sophia finally met my gaze, but there was something guarded in her eyes, something distant. You're being paranoid, James. Paranoid. The word lingered, sharp and dismissive. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was seeing ghosts in the shadows. But paranoia had a way of creeping into the mind and taking root, and I wasn't ready to let it go just yet. I left the table without another word, but the question remained, gnawing at me like a relentless tide. What was Sophia hiding? And why did I feel like I was about to lose everything? By nightfall, I would have my answer. That evening, the weight of my suspicions bore down on me, pressing against my ribs like a vice. The air in the house felt different, thick with something unspoken yet undeniable. As the hours stretched, my mind churned through possibilities, each darker than the last. I decided I couldn't wait anymore. I needed the truth. I checked Michael's room. Empty. His absence sent a shiver of realization through me. Sophia was nowhere to be found either. My pulse quickened as I reached for my phone, dialing her number. It rang, the sound echoing in the stillness. Then, from down the hall behind the closed bathroom door, I heard a voice. Hers. A hushed whisper. A name. Michael.